of animal protein was linked to great body weight. And we know that. We know that. But the surprising part of it is that the China study highlighted that animal protein was not only associated with body mass, but also height. I am yet to delve into more research pertaining to that. I would really like to know how the foods that we eat affect our height. So those who consumed more animal protein were taller and heavier, but this was also associated with higher levels of total and bad cholesterol. Now, what is obesity? Can anyone share what is obesity from your understanding? Can you share what obesity is? Anyone?
Let me come in.
Thank you.
Yeah, when we say obesity, it's like we have an optimum weight for our height or for our body mass, but we go beyond that, so we can be classified as obese, or obese if we go beyond what is the optimum weight for us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sister Benz, for sharing. So yes, you are correct. It's abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that presents various health risks. Now we are challenged to know our body mass index or BMI. Now, I don't know if we all know how to calculate this, but what we do when calculating our body mass index, we divide our weight in kilograms by our height in meters, and then we'll get our body mass index. Now, if the results are greater than 25, it means then that you are overweight. But if the BMI is greater than 30, it means then that you are obese and you need to be doing something about it. Now, some people, when they recognize that they're obese, they partake of various diets, and one of such is the fat diets. They partake of this because they want to attain fast or quick results. Well, this is not recommended, because fat diets, these are basically plans that promotes results or fast weight loss. But these dietary plans are not supported by robust scientific evidence, so we are encouraged not to partake of these diets. They are often associated with a lot of side effects or other health risks, such as constipation, bad breath, headaches, risks of kidney damage, osteoporosis, and even sudden death. One of such diet is the Atkins diet. I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but it advocates loads of protein, meat, and fat with minimal carbs. But these diets, they tend not to be specific. They don't give you the specifics of of what to eat and in what proportions. Now, it does not differentiate between the complex versus the refined carbs or plant versus animal proteins. They do not do that, and they often require you to have nutritional supplements. So it's not good for you, and it's recommended that you do not partake of any such diets. If you want to obtain optimum results, then the best way is to do regular exercise to keep those pounds off. And of course, just by partaking in whole food plant-based diet, that can help you to control your weight. Such foods have naturally less calories than refined carbs and protein. The high fiber content makes you feel full without adding much calories, and it increases metabolic rate and physical activity. Generally, with whole food plant-based diet, you can eat as much whole plant-based food as you want and still lose weight. I have proven this over the years. Studies reported weight loss of 2 to 5 pounds in 12 days and 24 pounds in 1 year. And of course, you can see even quicker results. I have personally seen quicker results being a part of such diet. Now, in a research study that was done, rats that were fed 5% casein, and I don't know if you remember what casein is, but it's a protein that is found in milk and dairy products. Now, rats that were fed 5% casein diet were much more active than those that were fed 20% casein diet. They were running twice as much as the ones that were on the 20% casein diet. Now, vegetarians have also been found to have a slightly higher metabolic rate. Now, something that we are to note is that a whole food plant-based diet is not the same as a vegetarian diet. A vegetarian diet might consist of refined grains such as pasta and other oils, whilst whole food plant-based diet does not have such in them. So there is a difference between whole food plant-based diet and vegetarian diet. Another disease of affluence that I think we are quite familiar with. It's diabetes. Now this is a condition where the blood sugar levels are too high, and I believe last week Sister Mariel did speak about the carbs and the sugars from all of those carbs and how we need to be careful. Now, there are two types of diabetes. There's type 1 diabetes, which occurs when the pancreas insulin production cells fail. Now, 5 to 10% of people actually fall into this category. There's also type 2 diabetes, which consists of 95%. And this occurs when the body doesn't respond properly to insulin. And we're going to learn more later about what actually happens with someone who have diabetes and when they partake of animal protein. Now, as you know, there are no cure or no known medical cure for diabetes. But according to research, one's diet could prevent and even reverse diabetes. That's if you participate in a whole food plant-based diet. People with whole food plant-based diets are less prone to diabetes compared to those with high fat, high protein, animal-based diets. Now, the right diet can also reduce blood cholesterol levels and allows diabetic patients to stop medication. Now, this is only if they continue with the whole food plant-based diet, of course. Now, for example, a high fiber, high carbs, low fat diet was tested on diabetics on insulin shots. Now, after 3 weeks, the type 1 diabetics saw a 30% drop in cholesterol levels and could reduce their insulin medication by about 40%. Whereby 96% of the type 2 diabetics could stop their insulin medication altogether. That it was as long as the whole food plant-based diet was sustained. There are other diseases of affluence include cancer. Now, this is something that I think, we're all aware of. There's breast cancer, prostate cancer, and large bowel cancers, but these are the three most common cancers in the US. Breast cancer, and before I even get to that part, something interesting, something important that we need to know is that these cancers, they can be mitigated through diet and nutrition. We are being told now, because of the various research that are coming up, that nutrition is more important than genes. So your genes does not dictate that you must get cancer. it depends on how it is, how those genes are expressed and what they are fed with. That is the important, that's the important thing. These cannot actually be expressed unless they are fed certain kinds of foods, certain kinds of foods that will actually feed them or allow them to progress. So breast cancer risk is associated with the exposure to excess amounts of female hormones. And again, this is something that came up in our earlier studies. Genes and carcinogens in your body can be controlled with nutrition to reduce the chances of cancer cells sprouting and spreading. Only 50% of women with pre-existing genes get breast cancer. And in a study, it was found that only 3% of all breast cancer cases was attributed with or to family history. So nutrition, again, is more important than genes. Screening. Now, I believe all ladies, this is something that we need to do. Though this helped to detect cancer early, it does not prevent cancer. And that's something that we need to bear in mind. To manage, now a test was done on some women, and it was found that to manage these women, to manage their hormone levels, many women, they resorted to drugs. Example, I'm trying to pronounce this word, tamoxifen or mastectomy. Now, had they been on a whole food plant-based diet, then they could have not done the mastectomy or resorted to taking drugs because the results would have either been the same or better should they had they partaken in partake of a whole food plant-based diet and pair it with exercise. Prostate cancer, excuse me. Prostate cancer represents about 25% of all tumors in the US. It's widely associated with the consumption of meat and other dairy products, such as other dairy products and eggs. So please be mindful of this. I know for some people, even when they're on a vegetarian diet, they might still be consuming eggs. But men, you need to be mindful of this also. A doctor tested a whole food plant-based diet with a group support and exercise on men with prostate cancer. In 1 year, they saw bigger improvements in prostate cancer markers and genes compared to those on standard treatment. So there were significant improvements. Then there is also colorectal cancer, a merger of colon and rectum. Now, this is said to be the fourth most fatal cancer worldwide and the second most fatal cancer in the United States. Excuse me. Dietary fiber from food correlates with a lower risk of colorectal cancer. And it is advised that eating 10 grams of dietary fiber or just having 1 cup of peas per day can reduce long-term risk of colon cancer by 33%. So just by eating a cup of peas per day, you might prevent yourself from getting colon or colorectal cancer. Now we're going to be looking at autoimmune diseases. And one of such was mentioned earlier, diabetes, type 1 diabetes, and Graves' disease. Now, Graves' disease, I believe it's a disease that affects the thyroid glands and can cause hyperthyroidism or overactive thyroid. Now, type 1 diabetes is the result of the immune system attacking the pancreatic cells that produce insulin. And we're going to find out how. Now, there's strong evidence that it's associated with diet, especially dairy products. Now, it says here that when cow's milk isn't fully digested, some protein fragments remain in our bodies, and the immune system kicks in to destroy these foreign substances. But the fragments are similar to the insulin-producing pancreatic cells. So the immune system ends up attacking the pancreatic cells as well. I did not know that, and I'm really happy to be exposed to this information. Now, genes can't be the factor since only less than 10% of genetically positive infants incur type 1 diabetes. On the other hand, all the diabetic kids in a Finnish study were found to have cow's milk antibody levels above 3.55 IgG when compared with the normal kids. The results were the same. The IgG levels, antibody levels, they were the same. And IgG is, it actually helps to prevent infections. This is always ready to multiply and attack foreign substances that gets in the body. So in the normal kids and in the kids with type 1 diabetics, the IgG levels were the same. Now we're going to be looking at MS, multiple sclerosis. Now, excuse me. Multiple sclerosis occurs because the body destroys the insulating layers on the nerves to cause a breakdown of the nervous system. There was a study done, and those in their early stage MS patients were asked to consume less than 20 grams of saturated fat a day. Now, 34 years later, 95% of those in the low saturated fat diet group were still alive, when compared with only 20% of those in the higher saturated fat groups. Excuse me. Now, there are other diseases of affluence. We're going to be looking at another one, and some organs and other essential parts of the body that is affected by plant-based protein or animal protein. Now, osteoporosis, and I don't know if growing up you heard that, drinking cow's milk, it actually helps your bones. That I was told that growing up, you need to drink milk so your bones can be stronger. But according to research, it's really, really not necessary. As a matter of fact, it says here that most of us were taught that cow's milk is vital for strong bones. Yet, hip fractures, which is an indicator of osteoporosis, these are the most frequent where people consume dairy products. So these hip fractures that are associated with osteoporosis, they are most frequent in people who consume dairy products. Now, bone fractures decrease when the ratio of vegetable to animal protein consumption increases. Unlike plant protein, animal protein increases our body's acidity. So when we consume of that animal protein, then there's an increase in our body's acidity. And as a result of that, our body uses the calcium that are in our bones to neutralize it. Now, persistently high calcium intake may also impair the body's ability to regulate the calcium absorption and excretion. And of course, this is something that also affects our kidneys' ability to function. Now, about 15% of Americans will be diagnosed with kidney stone at least once in their life. But that does not have to be the case. Animal protein is associated with 4 of the 6 risk factors. Four of the 6 risk factors for kidney stone formation. I think that should be enough for us to not partake of the animal protein. Now we're going to be looking at the eyes and the powerhouse of the body, which is the brain. The eyes, excuse me, cataracts and macular degeneration are 2 of the most common eye problems in the US. The right foods, including antioxidants from fruits and vegetables, can prevent 70 to 88% of blindness caused by macular degeneration. The brain, a sound diet helps to prevent cognitive dysfunctions or damage like vascular dementia, which is due to small strokes from broken blood vessels in the brain, and Alzheimer's disease, which is due to protein substances that accumulates as plaque in the brain. Now, people with high-fat diets also have a higher risk of dementia. Several studies found that plant-based nutrients are associated with lower risk of old age cognitive decline. An extra 3 servings of fruits and vegetables daily can reduce the risk of stroke by 22%. And I'd just like to share this key quote with you. Memory loss, disorientation, and confusion are not inevitable parts of aging, but problems linked to that all-important lifestyle factor, diet. We need to be mindful that God is the intelligent designer. He created this body, and this body is so intelligent that it actually knows what to do with the foods that we put inside of it. Now, the Bible tells us that God has given us every seed bearing or the herbs of the fields for service to our bodies. Now, when we put those herbs inside of our bodies actually knows how to extract the nutrients from these herbs or from these seed bearing herbs. Our bodies, they knows exactly what to do with them, how to process it, how to take what it needs from it, and how to supply the different organs in the body. So when we partake of things that our bodies really was not designed to partake of, then then we encounter problems or health problems. So we need to get back to what God created for us to partake of. And if it is that we are already on animal-based diets, then we can always revert to what is good for us, which is the plant-based diet. Now, nutrition is good for us. Proper nutrition, it's very good for our bodies. Nutrition is food that promotes health. By eating right, you can live longer, you can look younger, you can feel more energetic, and avoid various diseases. And I know we live in a society that tells us, oh, you can take supplements, you can, for ladies, I know, when we want to look younger and stuff like that, we might have these serums and toners that we use on the face and things that we put in the bodies, but they're really not necessary. As I mentioned before, all that we need was already given to us by God. All that the body needs to function effectively and efficiently was given to us already by God. We just need to get back to the basics of life. Now, I'm going to share with you 8 principles for eating Right. Now, the first principle is that we need to adopt a holistic approach to nutrition, not isolated fixes. So instead of focusing on one disease at a time, or something might be broken in the body, instead of saying, oh, let me just fix this, we can just take a holistic approach to nutrition and just eat right on a whole. And this will promote good health overall. Now, the human body is a complex system of enzymes, hormones, chemicals, organs, and cells evolved to extract the benefits from whole foods found in nature, as was said before. So long as you consume the right food, your body will know how to process and extract the nutrients. Don't tackle one nutrient or disease at a time. Approach nutrition holistically. So that's the first principle. The second principle is that dietary supplements are not elixirs for good health. They're not treatments. You can do without these supplements. What you need to do is to just partake of the whole food plant-based diet, and you're good. You'll be getting all of that, the nutrients that you need, except for vitamin B12, of course, which cannot be found in the whole food plant-based diet, and the vitamin D, which we actually get from the sun when it acts on the cholesterol under the skin. So these dietary supplements, they're actually not necessary. We don't need to spend money on all of these things when we can get them from nature. Principle number 3, almost all essential nutrients come from plants, not animals. An essential nutrient must, 1, be necessary for healthy functioning, and 2, it is something that the body cannot produce by itself. Now, plant foods contain antioxidants, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Animal foods have little or none of such nutrients, except, more protein or slightly more protein, a lot more cholesterol and fat, all of which are not necessary and can be harmful to the body. The next principle is that genes only affect health if they are expressed. And I believe that this was shared before. Genes only affect health if they are expressed under the right conditions. So if you feed these genes well, then you'll get favorable results. But if you don't, then you'll get negative results. The next principle is that nutrition can mitigate the effects of harmful chemicals. So there are a lot of refined foods out there, a lot of foods that have various chemicals in it that our bodies really does not need them. It doesn't need them. So instead of eating these meals that are refined or chemically altered, we can just partake of what is naturally good for us. We don't have to be damaging our bodies by eating or consuming the others. And it says here, you can't totally avoid exposure to free radicals and carcinogens, but you can control their impact via what you eat. Organic meat may be slightly healthier than meat with chemicals or antibiotics, but it's still animal protein. Go for plant protein instead. And I know that some people out there are saying, okay, but the plants are being sprayed with chemicals. This is another reason why we need to know where our foods are coming from. So it's always important for us to research these things to make sure that these our vegetables are naturally grown without chemical alterations. The next thing is that nutrition can prevent, halt, or reverse diseases. This is another thing that came out in the studies and was mentioned earlier. Chronic diseases don't appear overnight. They take years to develop. It depends on what you feed them over term. So nutrition helps to improve your health regardless of which phase you're at if you have been affected with a disease. So that's something that you can bear in mind. So it's not too late for for one to start a whole food plant-based diet. The other two principles, the final two principles that I'd like to share with you, is that the same nutrition that counters chronic diseases also supports general health. There's no such thing as a specific nutrition fix for each disease of affluence. A whole food plant-based diet benefits all aspects of health without any side effects. Let's bear that in mind. The final one is that we need to be good health reformers. Let's partake of the new start. So while we're practicing good nutrition, let's also do have our exercises as well. Let us make sure that we exercise temperance, get enough sunlight, rest, practice trust in God, and partake of getting adequate amount of air, fresh air in our bodies. So let's take a holistic approach to developing healthy habits for the body. Now, the final thing that we'll cover is that there are three simple rules for whole food plant-based diet. 3 simple rules. Great nutrition is actually very simple. There's no need to count your calories, eat an exact amount from each food group, or fret over whether something is vegetarian or vegan. There are only 3 simple rules to follow. 1, plants. So long as it's a plant, be it fruits, vegetables, flowers, stems, leaves, roots, legumes, mushrooms, nuts, whole grains, you can eat as much as you want. 2, minimize refined carbs. And I believe Sister Mariel did go into depth in this last week. Avoid the white bread, the sugars, the cakes, and the pastries, the added salts and fats as well, and fish because of the mercury that might be in it. 3, avoid animals, including meat, poultry, dairy, and eggs. There's no need to, as I mentioned before, God has given to us everything that we need to sustain this body, this temple of His. So long as we are eating right, then we are positioning ourselves from developing certain kinds of diseases. And I'm not saying that, okay, once you are eating a whole food, once you are a part of a whole food plant-based diet, then you are not going to contract any diseases. That's not what I'm saying. But prevention is better than cure. It's best that you play your part and let God play His part. So all that is needed for this body to be sustained and to be kept healthy and to function the way God actually wants it to function, He has provided through nature freely. So we don't have to be partaking in these man-made, we don't have to be eating these the animal products. We don't have to be taking these supplements and these things that we take to beautify or whatever the case may be. We don't need them. All that we need, God has given to us in nature. And with that said, that brings me to the end of this week's